Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you doing this morning? My name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome back to Stranger Days for the 24th of June, 2019. And what a weekend it's been. Toy Story 4 came out. I didn't see it. I want to, but I didn't get around to it because, got got kids. Well, I got one kid, one on the way. After finally having a gender reveal party over the weekend, which I believe is probably the whitest of all parties that one could have, I'm happy to announce that coming this August, early August, to, to will be my second daughter. So no name yet, but that will be coming. So in the meantime, that's the news of me. But I wanted to jump right into the podcast today, not keep you guys waiting with anticipation for what's going on. So let's first take a look here at the Mueller Report as a graphic novel, because that is apparently going to be a thing. The publisher is turning the Mueller Report into a graphic novel. Now, this is what I don't understand. I mean, I really don't fucking understand why. It's a 400 some odd page report that a lot of people haven't read, but the summarizations are out there. If you watch Fox News, the summarizations are all handjobs, rainbows, and blowjobs. I mean, really, let's be fair. That's precisely how they put it. No collusion, total exoneration. Never mind, in Mueller's own words, none of that is true. I just love that, by the way. I love to remind people of that. I have friends of mine that are like super Republican, won't acknowledge it in the slightest that there might be something a little bit when it comes to dealing with Trump and some of the stuff in this report. So maybe a graphic novel is a good idea. Maybe a graphic novel is a solid idea as a way to get some people out there to read the goddamn thing, to look at at everything Mueller laid out, and then to determine everything for themselves. Do you think that's going to happen, though? Probably not. Probably not. I'm just being fair. I'm just going to be fair. I don't think it's going to actually happen. So anyway, it says here that the Mueller report is so dense and long that even some lawmakers haven't read all of it, which is, their job. But a publisher, IDW, plans to turn the 448-page report into a lighter reading by making it into a graphic novel. Yes, I'd like to know what's the inspiration for this particular graphic novel. I would hope that it would be done in the vein of The Watchmen, simply because I do feel that the term applies here. Who watches The Watchmen? Kind of like Mueller watching over Trump and everything that's gone down with the 2016 election. Curious and curiouser. Now, but authors, cartoonist Shannon Wheeler and journalist Steve Dewan illustrate scenes detailed in the special counsel report, including the 2016 Trump Tower meeting and President Donald Trump saying, "I'm effed." Well, I'm fucked. I don't know why the fuck I'm not saying that. Jesus Christ, this is a totally uncensored show. When he found out about Mueller's appointment. Now, the 2016 presidential, not presidential, well, the 2016 Trump Tower meeting is one that is always interesting. It's always come up for conversation because of what was contained within that, right? You've got Paul Manafort, Don Jr., Jared Kushner, Natalia Veselnitskaya, which I can now fucking pronounce. Thank you, Colbert. And then Trump has, goes out there and dictates it has something to do with the Magnitsky Act, talking about, child adoption and whatnot. It's a good play. We now know it's absolute bullshit, but it's a good play at the time. But it really does kind of beg the question, how much has Trump lied to us? And I think this particular report gave us a bit of a glimpse, just a little bit of a glimpse into what exactly was being said. Again, look, you can like the guy. That's fine with me. I don't care. But you look at a 2-year investigation that cost tens of millions of dollars and earned tens of millions more back from Paul Manafort. They may not have found collusion, but they also didn't have an arena of which to charge him. So, good times. Anyway, Justice Eisinger, the editor of the book, said the graphic novel would increase the number of people who are informed about Mueller's findings, saying it's a great resource for anyone that wants to be informed about the findings of the most important law enforcement document created in our lifetime. Well, we don't know that yet. And there are people out there who were around during Watergate and that's still alive. So Woodward and Bernstein are both on cable television. They're getting this Twilight career revival. You know, the Watergate instance. I can't do Renaissance and combine that word together. It doesn't really fucking matter. But the point is, I don't know if it's the most important law enforcement document created in our lifetime. I think I'd like to know more about the 9/11 report. I think the 9/11 Commission, I would argue, is far more important because it showed us a lot of things. You know what I mean? It showed us a lot of things that, here it is now. Anyway, they want to turn this into a thing. Fine. But I don't also know if this will necessarily increase the number of people who are informed about Mueller's findings. That's the thing I kind of laugh at here. They're like, oh no, more people are going to know about it because it's in a comic. Did you write it as a graphic novel in order to hope that it gets picked up for adaptation? Because that could be it. If the graphic novel version of the Mueller Report ends up becoming a Hollywood adaptation, then I could see that being a thing. I could see that then being something that gets more people to watch it. Just slap Marvel Studios in front of that motherfucker and wait for the billions to roll in. You want to get us out of whatever potential financial crisis is going to come from the way Trump's dealing with this tariff situation, this trade war nonsense, then yeah, do that. How about that? Anyway, at 208 pages, a comic book version is half as long as a report because of so much stuff being redacted, in my opinion, saying this is this is the easiest way to get people to actually read it. The report has been number one on the New York Times paperback nonfiction bestseller list for 8 weeks in a row. That's true. I was even at Target the other day and they had it up on the fucking store shelf. They had it at Target. They had the Mueller Report at Target. I'm like, I could just download this. Why the fuck would I pay for it? But anyway, this is what the cover is going to look like. This is what the Mueller Report graphic novel is going to be. I know it's riveting stuff there. It's truly masterful penmanship. The exquisite detail to Trump's rear end and what can only appear to be adult diapers is just marvelous. It's and then actually, yeah, because it shows them through the magnifying glass wearing diapers there. That's a joke that I completely overlooked myself. But that's where we have it, folks. That's where we find ourselves with this particular situation. Anyway, moving on. The U.S. government blocks League of Legends in Syria and Iran amid escalating tensions. You know shit's real. Like, shit's real bad in a country when all of a sudden the games are getting locked out, right? The U.S. government, this isn't like Iran and Syria that are usually notoriously douchey when it comes to dealing with, anything involving the West and then censorship, right? You know how bad it is. We've all seen the stories, but this is the U.S. government locking it down. Just another casualty of Trump's agenda. Look, let's be fair when it comes to this whole situation with Iran. Trump inflated the problem. He exacerbated the problem, and then the last minute came in to save the day. Anyway, look, there are consequences whenever the president does something. Here we are looking at some of those consequences now. As tensions between the U.S. and Iran begin to boil over, the conflict has had an unexpected side effect. League of Legends is one of the most played video games of all time. It's been blocked in Iran and Syria by the U.S. government after a U.S. military drone was shot out of the air by Iranian army earlier this week. The already tenuous relationship between the two countries has immediately soured further. And Syria was also caught up in the penalty. Because, if you're going to punish them, yeah, fucking punish Syria while you're at it. I mean, you might as well, right? ISIS was kind of like the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. They have state-sponsored terrorism there. We don't really like al-Assad. So, block the citizen. Wait, hold on. Just as a quick side note, all the shit that I see about Syria, it's always the civil war in Syria is terrible. They have many hundreds of thousands of casualties. And here's a story. Here's a picture of a dead baby face down in water who was killed. I believe it was in a gas attack, right? You look at it and you would think that Syria is basically like a third world hovel that is just a shithole, like a legitimate shithole. but they get League of Legends there? That just kind of blows my goddamn mind. I mean, like, if you ever want to like take a look at something that blows your goddamn mind, look up photos from like the actual beautiful nature landscape of Iran. It legitimately looks like another fucking planet, but we'll never be able to go there. Thanks, Ayatollah. Anyway, this is an extraordinary occurrence that hasn't quite been seen in esports sphere before. Tariffs, trade sanctions, and threats of military conflict are frequent sights when countries are in active dispute, but the step of blocking civilians' access to video games is a novel course of action. It's quite a change from politicians regularly debating the dangers of loot boxes and microtransactions. This can easily set the precedent of conflicting countries disabling access to games as part of ongoing tensions. Yeah, no better way to radicalize your citizen base by doing away with the massive amount of dopamine injections that they get from playing fucking video games, right? If you want to anger them, then maybe you want that. I don't know. Why would you want that? If you were the American government and you wanted to, like, fuck with Iran and fuck with Syria, wouldn't you want to like placate a fair amount of the populace there? The young virile men who aren't having sex but instead are engaging in all these online actions. These are the ones that are going to get radicalized by not being able to play the game, and then they're going to go out and do maybe bad things. Video games save lives is what I'm trying to say here, folks. Video games save lives. Hashtag started by Matt. There we go. There we go on that one, folks. There we have it. We have it. We're doing it. We're saving lives by trying to advocate for more people to play video games. But no, I mean, look, I'm making light of the situation, but it is stupid to block the video games. It really is. Anyway, the ban hasn't stopped some players from cheating the system and using VPNs to get around the authentication process upon login. Now, it says here, due to U.S. laws and regulations, players in your country cannot access League of Legends at this time. But this still makes it quite difficult for League players in these affected countries to play, since VPNs can be quite expensive in these areas, which is true. VPNs are not like some free service. Like, the good ones cost some serious dough. I just find it to be crazy that it's like they're going around the system using VPNs to log in to play the damn game. Look, life will find a way. Nerds and gamers and geeks will always find a way to do everything except get laid. No, that's not true. A lot of people who play games get laid. I have a second daughter on the way. Yeah? I mean, if I can do it, clearly somebody in Syria can. Anyway, multiple Iranian and Syrian players have expressed despair about the situation. A common theme is that this won't hurt the politicians or those with the power to do something, but instead it will affect the civilians whose lives in a war-torn country already offer little comfort and access to video games. Based on the wording of the message and the fact that it also details the restriction is down to the whim of the U.S. government, it appears Riot Games has little to say in the matter. See, you have to laugh at the fact, and I mean this ultimately just as a general abstract laugh, at the fact that they are in a war-torn country amidst the terrible civil war where civilians have been gassed by al-Assad, murdered by their dictator, all of these things. And video games apparently is like a big deal, apparently. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't really think I like that. I'm not a big fan. I don't think in this particular situation that it's really a priority. But at the same time, I understand entirely. I understand entirely that the whole point is that you really, really, really want to like just get some goddamn fucking escapism. You know what I mean? Like, I play games to escape. I get it, man. I just feel like there's more to fucking do in this country. Shit to do than this. But then again, this is our country doing it. This isn't their country. So that's fucked up even more. I want them to get access to games is what I'm trying to say. So don't try to twist it as like, Matt thinks that Iran and Syria shouldn't get access to fucking League of Legends. That's not true at all. I just think that there might be more important things in that country in this moment in time than doing that. I mean, am I wrong? I don't think I'm that fucking wrong. I don't think I'm that fucking wrong at all. But then again, your thoughts, I want to hear about them. Definitely let me know down below. So, this is a fun one here. Do you vape? Hey, man, you vape? What flavor, man? I don't vape personally. I would love to vape. I mean, like, I quit smoking before vaping was a thing. Probably the biggest regret of my non smoking life. If you don't smoke cigarettes, good for you. If you are a non smoker who quit smoking, you know the pain of which I speak. And vaping, well, arguably probably worse for you overall because of how much you actually inhale versus having a cigarette, and also the smell of a cigarette, which is so good on that first puff. It is so good. But what I'm trying to say here is that vaping amongst teens and the Ute, are definitely high. I don't think there's an argument against it. You can't say that it's not happening. It is happening. But this Nebraska high school, this Nebraska school district is going to be bringing the thunder, bringing the pain. They're here to kick ass, take names, and destroy jewels. Saying here that to combat vaping, Nebraska school district will randomly test students for nicotine. You know, this is you know how you get around this, by the way. I'm just saying, you do like these zero nicotine types. Oftentimes, it's the physical act of taking a hit that is more than the nicotine itself. The nicotine is the one of the physical addictions, of which there are many physical addictions to smoking cigarettes. That's simply just one of them. The hardest thing for me wasn't breaking the nicotine. The hardest goddamn thing for me was breaking the physical act of putting it to my mouth, sucking, and then exhaling. That was the hardest goddamn thing. And that is something that I still, to this day, if I hold, like even right now, I'm holding a chapstick, right? I'm holding chapstick in my hand. And that, to me, I'm holding it like a fucking cigarette filter. Why? Because 13, nearly 14 years later, yeah, right? No, 2006, no, nearly 13 years later, because yeah, we're coming up on that. I want nothing more than to fucking smoke. So I get what these kids are going through at that age of wanting to sneak off and get a little bit of that vape action. But I'm also on a real fucking big tangent here. But I'm just saying, at the same time, I think this is one of the stupidest goddamn ideas ever, because schools engaging in drug tests, like, you dumb for one, because like what you do off school grounds, it should not impact you at all when it comes to school, but it does. It fucking does. Anyway, at a Fairbury Junior High School in southeast Nebraska, school administrators have noticed an alarming increase in students sneaking puffs of e-cigarettes in locker rooms, restrooms, and elsewhere on school grounds. I smoked at school too. I did. I smoked at school, man. I smoked at school a lot and shit. I mean, like, I was in photography class. That was great. That was like second period, you know? I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go and take some photos of the schoolyard. Let me just get this hall pass. This is 1999, by the way. It was like 20 years ago. I would take off with a buddy of mine. We'd go and take a picture of a plant or something or another, and then we walk out to the parking lot and smoke cigarettes for a while. There was like multiple smoking spots at the school that you could get away with and everything else. This is the 90s, man. It was a great time and shit. Can't do that now, not one fucking bit. Anyway, in an effort to reverse the vaping trend, you're not gonna make it taboo, make it a fucking Russian roulette situation. You're not gonna reverse it, by the way. The school district is taking a drastic step. Starting in the fall, all students who participate in extracurricular activities will be subject to random nicotine testing. So, if you are a student you're going up for like wrestling or football or glee club or debate, and you just need a little bit of that sweet, sweet, sweet raspberry cream jewel, you might get randomly tested for nicotine. Like I said before, you want to get around that, just get the non-nicotine kind. I'm sorry, school. You're fucking stupid if you think that that's exactly what's going to be happening. Anyway, saying here, this is from one of the people involved. The school superintendent, actually. He says here, it's a huge problem. And right now, I think it's new enough that we're being very naive to think that more kids aren't doing it. Yeah, no, more kids are doing it. I'm just saying that. But this is like not the way you go about it. He says here, we want to provide a safe, substance-free school as best we can. And we're hoping that through the implementation of this policy, we are helping students make the best decision. I don't think you are, Stephen. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for people under the age of 18 to smoke. And I know Connecticut just raised the age to 21, and I support that. I do. Smoking is one of the worst things you can do for your body, but goddamn, does it feel good? Man, the last time I got into a hookah, I dove the fuck in and I didn't come back up. To me, that hookah was basically like the hottest chick ever. And she was like, "So I like oral." And I'm like, "I like oral too. I'll be down here for a while. Call me if you need me." Like, that's basically like how I approached it. Like a fat kid left in a fucking candy store with no supervision. That kind of thing. Because it's an addiction. It is an addiction. One that even all these years later, I'm still fighting with. But I miss it. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's really, it's terrible, but it's great. Like my dad and my stepmom vape. You know, my dad, like, he's like, "I make my own juice." I'm like, "Oh God, go fucking go, hipster." You know, like, I feel like I'm the old man and he's in his 60s and he's like, "I make my own juice." Is pretty cool. I'm like, yeah, I guess fine. Anyway, the uptick in e-cigarette use. I keep going off on tangents, man. This is one that, yeah, you can tell I'm feeling the itch. The uptick in e-cigarette use in February echoes a national epidemic of teen vaping, according to public health experts. A 2018 Center for Disease Control and Prevention survey found that 3.05 million high school students and 570,000 middle school students, Jesus, had used e-cigarettes in the last 30 days. The authors attributed the popularity to e-cigarettes shaped like a USB flash drive, such as Juul. These products can be used discreetly, have high nicotine content, and come in flavors that appeal to youth. And maybe that was one of the things with smoking. When I was a young lad, we didn't have any of these special, like cotton candy blowjob flavors. What we had was cigarettes and menthol. You had regular and you had menthol. Did you smoke Cool? Did you smoke Newport? You were a bitch if you didn't smoke Marlboro or Camels. Or, I mean, I think by the time I quit, there was like Camel 99s or something. You know what I mean? Like, there was something along those lines. There was like Camel 99s. Or no, Camel Crush, which had like a menthol thing in the tip. You would crush the filter and it would be this it would give you this like extra mentholyptus. It would give you this extra menthol hit. Yeah, I really wish vaping was around when I quit smoking. Anyway, this is how they're going to do it. This is how they're going to do it. Once a month, 20 to 25 kids at Fairbury will be randomly selected to be tested for nicotine through a urine test. If they are found to have, you could test this via urine? Anyway, if they are found to have nicotine in their system, the students must sit out for 10 participation days of their extracurricular activity. If there is a second offense, they have to sit out for 45 days and see a certified substance abuse counselor or licensed mental health provider for evaluation or treatment at their own expense. The third time, offenders cannot partake in their extracurricular for 12 months. You get caught with nicotine in your system 3 times. You're not going to get that varsity letter. You're not going to get into that college. You're just going to be screwed and have to go to Walmart and say, "Welcome, I love you." That's about it, man. That's a little harsh though, I think, right? For one, what happens off school property is off school property. So eat a dick if you think otherwise. I'm sorry. I don't like that one bit. I don't like that. I've never liked that. I've never liked that on a weekend night or whatever, that the school still feels they have autonomy over your body. I get during business hours. I get that. That makes sense. The parents, the child, they at the school, they enter into agreement that during those hours while the child is there getting an education, that those children then are in the purview, the responsibility of the school. That part I understand. But on the weekend, that's my time, bitch. You don't get my time. As I would say if they were going to do this when I was in high school. Like I said, when I was in high school, we found out ways to get around it. Besides, nowadays, you can get these Juuls with no nicotine in them. So, there's that shit. Anyway. Finally, this story popped up today. This popped up in from a Portland report, and this happened in Portland, my hometown. For one, didn't realize that a former vice president of Walt Disney was living there, nor did I know that a former vice president of Walt Disney was being naughty with children, which is even more scarier because he really does look like fucking Santa Claus. Now, former vice president of Walt Disney sentenced to more than 6 years in Portland's sex abuse investigation. The dude's older, so 6 years is really going to be like probably a life sentence. I don't know if I'm supposed to feel bad. I don't feel anything. Now, it says here, a former vice president of the Walt Disney Company has been sentenced to more than 6 years in prison following a child sex abuse investigation. The Multnomah County District Attorney's Office said Michael Laney, 73, was sentenced to 81 months in prison. Along with his prison sentence, he'll have to register as a sex offender and pay a $4,000 fine. Well, the dude, like I said, he's 73. He'll get out right around the time he's 80. If he registers as a sex offender, it's not going to last very long. And only a $4,000 fine. This guy was a former vice president of Walt Disney. Walt Disney, he has more than $4,000. If you check this couch, you might find a bit more in there. Now, he was found guilty of 4 counts of first-degree sexual abuse on May 7th. The evidence presented during trial showed that in March of 2017, a young girl disclosed she had been sexually abused by him. The discourse was first reported to law enforcement in Washington State, where the victim lived at the time of her disclosure. Yeah, well, I'm glad that happened. The Portland Police Bureau assumed the investigation after it was determined that the abuse had occurred in Portland, starting approximately 2009 when the victim was about 7 years old. Yeah, what this guy's, 7-year-old kid, dude, 6 years? Nah, fuck you. Nah, fuck that. Fuck that. This guy deserves a lot longer than that. A lot longer than that. And this is him. This is the guy. This is Michael Laney. Like I said, pedo Santa Claus. That's what he is at this point. He's a pedo Santa Claus. I feel nothing for this man in terms of sympathy. This guy worked for the Walt Disney Company. He would clearly be around children. I wouldn't be surprised if we discovered that there were, in fact, more victims of assault, abuse, misconduct, whatever word you want to use to describe the molestation of a minor. I believe we call that a pedophile. And you know what? The term is, I think, being used accurately here. Oftentimes the term gets thrown around a lot. So there's that. But this is an accurate description of the guy. Look at him. He doesn't even, he looks kind of remorseful, but at the same time, he's all like, not. Probably thought he could buy his way out of it. He's got the money, got the power, got the influence. But Multnomah County got him. 6 years. It feels like a fucking plea deal. It does. It feels like a plea deal. He pled it down in order to get 6 years. He'd been abusing this girl since 2009 for 10 years. Or, well, for 8 years because they got him a couple years ago. Yeah. I believe I'm not the only one that's saying, fuck this dude. Fuck him square in his stupid fucking face. Anyway. Comment section time. I wanted to do this Friday's episode, but I couldn't find the graphics to make this particular image. I know, high production quality on Stranger Days. Clearly, it is rivaling what you find on cable television and making its way into your home in the way only I can. But no, I got a couple comments here from the from the chat that I felt were worth kind of addressing, and that's kind of the point. If you have a good comment, I can respond to it here. As I jokingly have here in the little scroll bar underneath, service doesn't guarantee citizenship, but hey, why not? So first up, we have Zohaib Faisal. Is it Faisal? I think. Anyway, he posted here because I was talking a bit about the how kind of like the I guess you could say the business plan of this particular show goes. It says, I would be down to make the channel member exclusive. I personally would not be able to do it for over $1 a month, though. And that is something that I've heard from other people. Now, like I said, when it comes to covering a lot of these stories, like the last story, for example, the pedophile Santa Claus, there's literally no way YouTube would let me monetize that, which means that even if the video did really, 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 really well, it would still be very little. And it's not just me, it's like everybody, but it really does impact the news coverage a lot more, especially if you're not talking about politics. Oftentimes politics gets hit because of the subject matters contained within, like certain political situations around the world. Like anything involving Syria is going to be hit automatically, like I talked about earlier from League of Legends. So that's part of the whole situation. So channel memberships absolutely help out. At 500, I can go full time. do it live, do this live in front of people, and then, have a little chat window right there where it's kind of vacant so we could do this stuff live, be great. But in the meantime, that's kind of where it's at. And if you, if you don't want to do the channel membership for $5, that's great too. There's, patreon.com/Matt Jarbo. You can come in there for $1. I mean, anything really helps out at this point. It sucks that YouTube's gotten to this point. I loved it when it was strictly basically just AdSense only. 2016, best year. But we live in an age now where if you want crazier shit, it's going to come at a premium. And I hate to tell you that, but that is literally where the fuck it's at. And that is unfortunate. Anyway, moving over here to The Wanderer. This is an interesting comment. He says, this is in regards to the Good Omens petition by 20,000 Christians seeking to have the show canceled at Netflix, even though the show is on Amazon. It was a pretty funny story. Now, it says here, those 20,000 Christians are probably fake Christians, otherwise known as Christian fundamentalists, Calvinists, Mormons, Christian scientists. They aren't Christians or scientists. They are stupid heretics that say medicine is of the devil. Non-Orthodox style Protestants or Jehovah's Witnesses. As a real Christian, Orthodox style Christian, I thoroughly enjoyed Good Omens and enjoyed the original book by Pratchett and Gaiman. Thoroughly disappointed since Pratchett is dead that the series can't continue. So here's the thing I find about this. One, I'm glad you like the show, Wanderer. I hear it's really good. It's on my list of things to watch this week. It's like 6 episodes. It's pretty short. But one of the things I learned back in the days when I was going to church and stuff was that really, judging someone based upon their religion is maybe not the best course of action. So I found it was kind of funny that you say, like, as a Christian, fuck these other Christians. That's basically the vibe I got from this, right? It's like, fuck these heretics, these non-Orthodox styles. I'm an Orthodox style Christian, which means I am better than you. That's the vibe I got. And of course, that I could be interpreting that wrong. And I'm not saying don't feel superior to them if you don't want to. I don't know anything about your life or the type of fake Christians you've dealt with. Now, I've dealt with fake Christians many times over the years. My favorite fake Christians are the ones on social media, right? The ones that are out there always preaching about how there's this attack by the media on Christianity and shit. And then I watch like their live streams and they're drinking beer and they're smoking cigarettes and they're talking about fornicating and they're talking about playing a violent video game where they get off on killing these people and dismembering their corpses. And I'm just like, yeah, that's what your God wants. Right? Hey, listen, I ain't knocking it, but forgiveness is a hell of a thing, ain't it? Right? It's a hell of a thing. Anyway, that actually wraps up today's episode. I really do appreciate you guys sitting here for the past 30 some odd minutes. If you have any stories you want to submit, you can hit me up at peskyadblock@gmail.com, or you can call in and leave a voicemail. Those will be fun at 323-207-0499. And again, I really appreciate you guys supporting the channel via channel memberships. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys want to help out, keep this thing going. And I will see you all tomorrow. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace the fuck out.